What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to talk to you about Faraday Future. I want to go over some of the current data points, what's been coming out from the company itself, as well with their upcoming shareholder meeting on February the 5th. I want to break it down on why Faraday is doing certain things. So I'm going to go over all that, but first make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So I haven't done all that much as far as updates for Faraday. I've been keeping tabs on it, but it's one of those things that based on the news, even that's been coming out, a lot of it is fluff, as bad as that sounds. And that's something I have said in the past, just they're very good at putting a good amount of news out, just a lot of it doesn't really incentivize investors to buy Faraday. So I kind of classify that as fluff. But in reality, you can tell that they are making progress. So it's kind of just playing devil's advocate. Of course, they did have the definitive 14A that was submitted on January the 10th. So I want to talk all about that because I've been getting a couple DMs on Twitter asking for me to cover that. And just to break that down on why Faraday is doing certain things. So technically, looking under the NASDAQ's website, they are still deficient as of December the 28th, 2023. So that's when they were served with their notice. And that is because of that $1 bid price rule being deficient in that. So they do have up until technically June the 24th, 2024 to rectify that. So that's either going over that naturally or combination of just technically a reverse stock split and naturally. So it, at the end of the day, just needs to be above $1 between 10 to 20 consecutive trading days. So that is very important. And the fact that Faraday has already done a reverse stock split in the past, most likely the NASDAQ is going to require 20 consecutive trading days. Because just in case you are new to Faraday, they recently did a reverse stock split, a 1 for 80 on August the 28th, 2023, to rectify the exact same issue. So Faraday did trend below $1 for 30 consecutive trading days. So they did this to fix it. So a couple things. So February the 5th, 2024, that is when the actual meeting is going to be held. You do have to be a holder as of December the 21st. So a couple days prior to that. So if you did buy, for instance, on December the 21st or after, you are not going to be able to use those shares for voting purposes. You can still participate, join in, listen to the call. Your votes just can't be counted, essentially. So that's just something to keep in mind. A couple of things, though. So proposal number one is to raise the authorized shares for both the common stock and preferred stock. And under this channel, I like to think that I'm very unbiased. So if there's something that I don't like, I bring it up. So for instance, the last shareholder meeting, they did make it a very good point to amend the authorized shares where it looked favorable for retail investors. That way retail would essentially vote for that 1 for 80 reverse stock split that previously did happen. And if we look at the ownership, retail does own majority of Faraday. So 2.73 million shares is being held by institutions, 15.95 million is held by strategic entities, and 108.54 million shares being held by other, aka retail. So retail does own majority of Faraday. So going into this upcoming shareholder meeting, that is something to kind of keep in mind. But at the same time, Faraday wanted to come off as favorable during the first shareholder meeting. So once again, the fact that they are changing it now after they made a purposeful not changing it the first time, like it just doesn't seem good. And of course, it begs the question, why does the company want to stay on the NASDAQ? And that plain as day is just for liquidity purposes. Looking at Faraday's balance sheet, they are going to need money, as is a lot of EVs so far, probably in 2024. So dilution is going to be very much a thing. And if they're changing it from 154 million to 1.3 billion, that is pretty substantial. And then proposal number two is a 1 for 3 reverse stock split. So this is what I did get a DM on. Why is it only a 1 for 3? Because if you think about it, where we go back over here with it at 16 cents, if you do a 1 for 3, it'll take it, obviously rounding up, to about 60 cents, rough math, right? So that in among itself is not going to rectify the original deficiency of $1. So what is Faraday's plan? And so in my opinion, I actually did not have a good answer to that individual. I know why they did pick 1 for 3, but I don't really see it advantageous. unless they are sitting on something in their back pocket that is going to really cause the stock price to go up from 60 cents, for argument's sake, to above $1. Keep in mind, it has to stay above $1 for 20 consecutive trading days. So if it dips below even once, then that's it, game over. But then again, they do have to do that, or have up until that June 24th to have that 20 consecutive trading days. But still, a 1 for 3 is very questionable. So there is a ruling within the NASDAQ, and this is, here lies the answer, is the excessive reverse stock splits. So technically, a company can only do a 1 for 250 ratio within a 2-year period in order for them to still get the benefits of the NASDAQ. And what I mean by that is it says that they will not be eligible for any compliance periods specified in Rule 5810(c)(3)(a), and that's of the NASDAQ. So for instance, if a company does a 1 for 250 ratio within a 2-year time period, and then they become deficient on something, the NASDAQ will automatically grant them a 180-day extension, exactly what's happened with Faraday. But if a company goes over that ratio of 1 for 250 and then they become deficient on something, they get immediately knocked down to OTC. Zero compliance or zero extension, nothing. So if you do the basic math, so they did a 1 for 80 and now they're proposing a 1 for 30, or sorry, 1 for 3. So 80 times by 3, 240. So they're just inching right below that kind of threshold. So it's kind of a weird scenario. So they're trying to be good with the NASDAQ, but at the same time, it won't really fix the deficiency. So Faraday is going to be stuck, most likely doing another reverse stock split closer to June. And that's just my own idea, just throwing that out there. As crazy as that sounds, that probably will be the scenario. And worst case scenario, in reality, technically, will be Faraday diluting up to this new authorized share count and then doing another third reverse stock split, which will put them over that limit. And then that means they'll kind of reset this. So it's not necessarily the best. And I do believe in here there is stipulations that if retail does not vote, then their broker can vote on their behalf. And of course, the broker is going to vote whatever the board does and is in favor of. And the board is in favor of absolutely all of these. Check, 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 check. So once again, not necessarily the best. And going into that shareholder meeting, like I said, retail does own majority of the float. On a side note, it's kind of unrelated to what I'm talking on, but while I'm on Interactive Brokers, latest Morningstar report, which just came out, does show the fair market value for Faraday being 39 cents. So take with that what you will. But moving on though, let's talk on shorts and some other fun stuff. So today, shorts did increase 103.51 thousand shares, 29.92% of the free float is being shorted, 35.66 million shares overall are being shorted, and cost to borrow average is 30.36%. So kind of interesting, a little bit higher in comparison to yesterday. But still, over the last little bit, shorts have been all over Faraday. And that's been the case for, I guess, the greater part of the year, especially, I guess, starting Q1 2023. So not necessarily the best. Options-wise, though, very low dollar value. So $815 in calls being purchased versus about $1,500 in puts. Sentiment-wise, it's kind of neutral. So 62% of all the options being done today were neutral, clearly just collecting on the premiums. And of the call options are being purchased, there's a consensus for it to be around $1, but I think a lot of logical investors do realize that reverse stock split is going to be coming. And so I don't know how this is going to overall play out. Based on the technicals, with it closing at 16 or just over 16 cents, it is trading between this S2 and this S1. So 1508 is going to be the next strong support, which is kind of close to that 52-week and all-time low that was recently created. But 1616, which right now after hours it's above that, that is a point that you'll really want to watch for it to break above going into tomorrow, meaning Friday. So let me know your thoughts on Faraday. What is your kind of thoughts on this upcoming shareholder meeting? Why do you think that they are only doing a 1 for 3? like I said, most likely it is just to keep in good standing with the NASDAQ, but at the same time, it's not really helping the deficiency. So a third reverse stock split is going to be coming if they do follow this. So it's very, very interesting on how everything is playing out. Definitely, it's killing any and all shareholder value over the next little bit. So it's not really incentivizing new investors to get in, and that's kind of what has escalated the stock price to go down. I feel like at this stage, a lot of investors have kind of committed and just realized that and accepted the loss, if that makes sense. So this is why there's not much extreme volatility that's been happening. But then again, I'm not a financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. So let me know your thoughts on Faraday. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with Faraday? And one final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo. It's just started on January the 15th. Simply sign up for an account with Moo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So this is one of the best deals in the market. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.